We're doing this highway again. US 27 southbound. So let's get going. Today we're going to be finishing up US Highway 27 for the University of Miami, as it travels all the way down to the city, but sadly not by the campus because that's further into Miami. And we're also going to be doing Interstate 471 because its southern terminus is at US Highway 27. So I figure why not just cover the entire thing this way. Also, along the route, US 27's control cities are really indecisive. So, let's get started with this indecisive highway. But first, you're watching the TheDerpHog, where I make highways content on all sorts of different topics. If you've been enjoying it, be sure to hit that like button. And if you've been really enjoying it, be sure to smash that subscribe button so you're notified on all future videos. And if you really want to help out the channel, become a member today, where you get custom cool emojis, early access to future videos, along with one free extra request per month. And if you don't want to become a member, you can always just pay $3 for a intersection request in future videos. Those highways will be listed down in the description below, and I'll make sure to shout you out when that video releases. So let's get on with the highway. As we can see here, this is the map of regular US Highway 27 as it goes from Fort Wayne, Indiana all the way down to Miami, Florida. But I also covered historic US 27 earlier this year, which actually went all the way up to just south of Grayling, Michigan. So we're going to be starting with that portion first. So we're going to be doing southbound US 27. So we begin here on Interstate 75, and it's signed south for Saginaw and Detroit, which are good choices. And current US 127 is signed south for Clare and Lansing. Honestly, that should be Mount Pleasant and Lansing. And this is our first exit on current US 127, or old US 27 south. And it's signed for Military Road. And it's 206 miles? How long is US 127 in Michigan? And it's 40 miles down the road, we're meeting US 10 once again, and US 10 and US 127 have a short concurrency around the town of Clare. And here's where US 10 splits off from US 127, and are now signed south for Mount Pleasant and Lansing, which are great choices. And I skipped all the way down to the Lansing area, and we're going to be joining Interstate 69, which is signed to Interstate 96 for Grand Rapids and Flint. And now we're meeting Interstate 96, and 96 and 69 have a short concurrency as we bypass the city of Lansing. Here is where Interstate 69, old US 27, was split off from Interstate 96, and we're signed south for Charlotte and Fort Wayne. And here we're meeting Interstate 94 once again, and old 27 and Interstate 69 is still signed south for Fort Wayne. And here is US 12 once again, and it gets the control cities as it did as we were heading northbound on old US 27. And shortly after, we're entering into the state of Indiana. And our first major exit in Indiana is the Indiana Toll Road, which is signed for Chicago and Toledo. And now we're meeting Interstate 469 up here in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and we just get 69 south and US 30 west. Now we're meeting the current northern terminus of US 27, and US 27 is signed south for Lima Road. Why Indiana? Why are you doing this? That should be a control city for US 27 south, not the name of the road. No one cares about the name of the road unless if they're a local of Fort Wayne. That should be some sort of city for South 27. I hate it when states do that. And after splitting off from Interstate 69, we have our first reassurance shield for US Highway 27. And it's on this cool gantry here, so that's pretty awesome. And then here we get a picture of downtown Fort Wayne, which actually looks quite awesome. And here's another cool shot of it, and I actually want to visit this place one day. And here we are meeting Interstate 469 on the outskirts of Fort Wayne. And let us see what we're signed for on 469. Oh, looks like we're signed for Decatur, which is a good choice because that's where we meet US 224, and it's also a pretty big city, so yeah, that's a good choice by Indiana. Here we are, we need US Highway 224, And 224 is going to have a concurrency with 27 and 33. Here's where US 33 splits off from US Highway 27. And here we actually get no control cities for either highway, sadly. Oh boy, Indiana's being a moron again. We're signing Geneva from only 11 miles away. No, this should be Richmond. Richmond's a pretty big city in eastern Indiana, so why is it not being signed on 27? But further down the road, we finally get a mileage sign with Richmond on the bottom line, so this is a good choice too. Here we are, meaning US Highway 36 in the middle of nowhere, Indiana. All we just get is this Phillips 66 gas station in the background. And here we have a pretty cool mathematical concurrency with Interstate 70 and US 35, as they're signed for Dayton and Indy respectively. We also meaning US Highway 40 here in downtown Richmond, and we're now also concurrent with Indiana Route 227. And a little down the road, we're actually another mileage time. We get Liberty on the top line and Oxford on the bottom line at 25 miles away. Here we are, a little ways down the road, entering into the state of Ohio, and since there is a town directly on the border, Ohio does not give us a welcome sign directly. Instead, it's a little ways down the road as we're entering into the town of Oxford. What? What is a picture of Todd from Control City Freak doing on this road sign here? Let me just take that off real quick. Oh, the road is actually named Todd. So yeah, I bet Todd from Control City Freak would actually appreciate this. Maybe this is a reason I should convince him to do his own US 27 series. And then a ways down the road, we're now actually passing by through Miami University. What? Well, I knew there was a Miami, Ohio University, but if you think this is the reason why we're doing US Highway 27, then you are... Because we're actually doing the one in Florida, not here in Ohio. And then on the outskirts of Oxford, we get another mileage sign with Cincinnati on the bottom line at 35 miles away. Here we are meeting with Ohio's routes 126 and 128, and 126 is going to be concurrent with us here as we head towards Cincinnati. And then here in the Cincinnati outskirts, we're meeting with Interstate 275, which is signed west for Indy and east for Dayton because of Interstate 74 and 75 respectively. And then here is Interstate 74, as we're going to be joining with it. But US 127 is actually going to be having its own road and a couple of Kentucky treatments, so that's not good. And then on the end of Interstate 74, we're going to be meeting with Interstate 75, and we're going to be concurrent with 75 South as we head towards Lexington. And this is where 27, 127, and 52 all split off from Interstate 75. But we're going to be staying on 75 because sadly there is no direct access to 471 from US Highway 27 in the Cincinnati area. And now we're meeting Interstate 71, and we're going to be taking the exit for 71 North and US Highway 50 East, because on the sign here it says that we're going to be meeting Interstate 471. Here is the exit for US 50 splitting off from Interstate 71, and we just get the Kentucky treatment and to Interstate 471. Here is where US Highway 50 meets Interstate 471, and it's signed south for Newport, Kentucky, which is just a suburb of Cincinnati on the Kentucky side. Oh, and if you also want to watch a series on US Highway 50, I recommend checking out Extreme Geography's version of US 50 here in the top right corner. Once on Interstate 471, we immediately cross into the state of Kentucky here on this cool yellow bridge. And if you look out, we actually get a pretty cool view of the Cincinnati suburbs on the Kentucky side, so that's pretty awesome. Here is the exit for Kentucky Highway 8, and it looks like that we get no control city for 471, we just get a pull-through sign. I personally like to see something for 471 here. Here's the exit for US Highway 27 as it gets signed for Fort Thomas and Southgate. And here's the southern terminus of Interstate 471 as we meet US 27 again. And this time 27 gets signed south for Alexandria, which is a good choice. Oh, and I'm also going to be doing my own version of Interstate 275 pretty soon, because I was recently on like mostly the entire southern half of it, so that. Here in the Alexandria-ish area, we meet with Kentucky Highway 9, which is probably one of the most boring state routes in the country, but it is also pretty scenic because, trust me, I've been on 111 miles of it. And here we are in the middle of nowhere, Kentucky, and we get a direction sign for Falmouth, Kentucky from 4 miles away. And then here in Cynthiana, we're meeting with US Highway 62, the good old friend of US 62. And we're going to be concurrent with it as we bypass the city. Here's where US 62 splits off from us, and we're now signed south for Paris. No, not Paris, France. This is Paris, Kentucky. Here we meet with US Highway 68, and these two highways are going to have a love concurrency here in the city of Paris. Just don't make it too awkward. And still in Paris, we're meeting a third wheel, US Highway 460. And 460 actually looks like a pretty interesting route. I might want to do a video on it someday. And here we are meeting Interstate 75 and 64 in Lexington, and their northwest control cities are awesome. While south for 75 and east 64 is good for Knoxville, but that Ashland is we are meeting Kentucky Highway 4, the ring road around the city of Lexington. And now we're meeting with US Highway 25 and US 60 and, oh, the great US 421. I just recently made a video on US Highway 421. Well, if you want to check it out, it's in the top right corner here. It's my longest video yet, and it's also pretty funny. On the southern side of Lexington, we're meeting with Kentucky Route 4 once again, and this time it's actually a freeway. And here, US 27 just gets the special treatment of Nicholasville Road. I'll give you a hint, our next control city is actually the name of the road, Nicholasville. Here in Nicholasville, we get a sign for 27 south for Lancaster. I don't know if they pronounce it differently here in Kentucky, but in Pennsylvania, I know it's Lancaster. And then, yeah, we have returned to our Kentuckylvania roots, and we're here in Lancaster. We're now signed for Stanford, which is an alright choice. Here in Stanford, we're meeting with US Highway 150, and let us see what this mileage sign here is up ahead. We have another mileage sign. We get Somerset from 32 miles away, and Somerset is another Pennsylvania city. I believe it's home to the most indirect interchange in the entire country there, because apparently it's far away from actual US 219. Here in Somerset, we're now getting signed south for Burnside. No, that's literally the next town over. How about Oneida? Because Oneida is down in Tennessee. This is just Kentucky being provincial here. And they're doing it again. We get 27 south for Whitley City. No, Whitley City is an unincorporated community, even though it has 1,000 people. You know what's bigger in an actual town? Oneida. Kentucky's showing its Pennsylvania roots here. And then here on Kentucky Route 92, we're now finally signed south for Oneida, because there is nothing left in Kentucky to sign. Here we are entering into the state of Tennessee. Oh boy, Tennessee is probably going to give me a headache again. Yep, what did I tell you? We're getting signed for Sunbright. Why? Why Sunbright? That's only 500 people. And you know what's in Sunbright again? The Air Shield, so why is it being signed? This should definitely be Wartburg and Harriman, not just Sunbright. Here in Wartburg-ish area, we're meeting with Tennessee Route 62. And 62 and 27 have a concurrency here. And here we split off from Tennessee Highway 62 as we're now signed south for Harriman, which is a good choice. And then we get a one-liner here with just Harriman from 4 miles away. Personally, I like to see another city there instead of just Harriman, but Harriman's still pretty big, and it's where we meet Interstate 40. Here we are meeting Interstate 40, and it's signed west for Nashville, which is a great choice. And I'm pretty sure 40 East is signed for Knoxville, which is also awesome. And personally, I have been at this interchange, but it was at 11:30 at night, so I could not get a personal picture of it. Here in Rockwood, we're meeting with US Highway 70, and we're going to have a concurrency with it as we head through the town. On the other side of town, we're splitting off from US Highway 70, and we're now signed south for Dayton. No, not Dayton, Ohio, Dayton, Tennessee. Here in Dayton, US 27 is signed south for Chattanooga? Wow, that is pretty awesome by T-Dot here. This is a rare US Highway T.W. On the outskirts of Saudi Daisy, we're meeting with Tennessee Highway 111, and 111 will take you north to Dunlap and US 127, while US 27 itself is going to be heading south towards Saudi Daisy and Chattanooga. Here in Saudi Daisy, we are now signed for Chattanooga still, for southbound. And then on the outskirts of Chattanooga, we're meeting with US Highway 127, the southern terminus of the highway, and it's signed north for Signal Mountain. Yeah. Here we are crossing over the Tennessee River in Chattanooga, and man, this is one beautiful, stunning view. Here in downtown Chattanooga, we're meeting with Interstate 24, and it gets good control cities all around. And we're also meeting with US 11, 41, 64, and 72, but like always, T-Dot likes to neglect US 72, so that's why it's not on this sign here. And here we have a personal picture of Interstate 24 overlooking US Highway 27, and this was taken by Josh the YouTuber, so thank you for this cool picture. Here is where US 27 splits off from Interstate 24, and it just gets the Kentucky treatment of Rossville Boulevard. No, I'd like to see Lafayette, Georgia, please. Here we are entering into the state of Georgia, and we get a Welcome to Georgia sign here, and a pretty cool US 27 shield right up ahead. Here we are meeting with Georgia Route 2, and we're going to be concurrent with it here as we head towards Lafayette. And this is where Georgia Route 2 splits off from us, as 27 is now signed south for Lafayette. Here on the outskirts of Lafayette, we get Somerville as our one-liner here at 17 miles away. Personally, I like to see some other control city here instead of just Somerville. Here in the outskirts of Somerville, we're meeting with Georgia Highway 140, and we're now signed for Rome, which is a great choice. Here we are meeting US Highway 411 in Rome as they get signed for Cartersville and Atlanta, which is awesome. And 411 South gets signed for Cedartown and Gadsden. Cedartown is for us, and Gadsden is actually for 411. Here's where US Highway 411 splits off from us. And 27, we don't know what our next control city is, but there is a mileage sign up ahead. And we're now signed for Cedartown and Bremen, which are good choices. Here we are meeting with US Highway 278, I believe in Cedartown, and we're now signed for Buchanan. But here we get another mileage sign. We get Buchanan on the top line and Tallapoosa on the bottom line. What's happened to Bremen? I thought we were signed for Bremen. I've never heard of Tallapoosa. Oh man, we get another Georgia dyslexic mileage sign. We get Bremen as primary on the top line and Buchanan as our secondary on the bottom line. Here we are meeting US Highway 78, and it looks like Georgia tried to copy Tennessee by doing the east-west just one thing, but ultimately failed. Kinda looks like Mickey Mouse. And now we're meeting Interstate 20, and at the time of this recording, I have not been at this interchange yet. But when this video releases, I definitely will have. here, after leaving Interstate 20, we get another one-liner. It looks like Georgia's loves one-liners for some reason. And we're getting signed for Carrollton from 8 miles away. Here in Carrollton, we're getting signed for Franklin on the top line and LaGrange on the bottom line at 41 miles away. Yippee. Here in LaGrange, we're meeting with US Highway 29, and we're going to be concurrent with it as we head through the city. And here's where US 29 splits off from us as it continues northeast towards Atlanta. And we're now meeting Interstate 85 itself, which gets signed for Atlanta and Montgomery. Well done, Georgia. And a little ways down the road, we get a one-liner with just Pine Mountain from 14 miles away. Yeah, I kind of get it. If you wanted to go to Columbus, Georgia, you'd probably taken 185 instead of 27, so yeah. On the outskirts of Pine Mountain, we're meeting with Interstate 185 here. And then in Pine Mountain itself, we're now signed for Columbus on the bottom line at 31 miles away. Good job, Georgia. Here we are in Columbus, and we're meeting with US 80 and Georgia 22 and 540 here. And always down the road, we're now going to be concurrent with US Highway 280, so we're going to have a concurrency here as we pass through the Army base. Here is the southern terminus of Interstate 185. And here's where US 27 splits off from US Highway 280 as we are now getting signed for, I believe, Lumpkin and Cuthbert. Hey, look at that! Here we get another mileage sign. We get Lumpkin on the top line and Cuthbert on the bottom line. Oh, not this again. Georgia, you too? Why do you have to have state highways the same number as your US highways? It just caused confusion, like this one here. We're meaning Georgia 27 on US 27. This just hurts my head. Oh, look at that. We're meeting US Highway 82 are now signed for Blakely, which is a good choice. And you know what US 82 is? Hey, I know this highway. US Highway 82 is a 1,625 mile route as it runs from eastern New Mexico at a junction with US 54 and 70, all the way over to Brunswick, Georgia at a junction with US Highway 17. When it was first implemented into the highway system, it only ran from Arkansas to Mississippi, but it was extended west to New Mexico in 1963 and east to Brunswick in 1979. It currently has no children, but it does meet US Highway 70 and 17 at both ends. And it also makes way more sense than its counterpart, Interstate 82. And it also has some pretty cool scenery as it crosses over the Mississippi River. And in West Texas, it kind of looks like it goes through the savanna biome of Minecraft. So that's a little bit about US Highway 82, and let us get back to US 27. After meeting US Highway 82, we get another mileage sign with Blakely on the bottom line at 16 miles away. And then here in Blakely, we get another mileage sign. We get Colquitt on the top line and Bainbridge on the bottom line at 42 miles away. Awesome. Here in Bainbridge, we're meeting with US Highway 84, and we're going to be concurrent with it as it's a freeway around the city. Here's where US 27 splits off from US Highway 84, and if we just take off this highway here, Tallahassee is an awesome choice for 27 South. In fact, that's what we get on our bottom line, our next mileage sign, Tallahassee. Woohoo! And a little ways down the road, we're now entering into the state of Florida, and it looks like that for some reason there's a Georgia shield in the state of Florida. Oh, and here's an actual welcome to Florida sign, just a little ways down the road. And our first mileage sign in Florida, we get Tallahassee on the top line and Perry on the bottom line. No, I do not want to see Perry here. Tallahassee by itself is just fine. It's the state capital and it's a pretty big city. In the outskirts of Tallahassee, we're meeting with Interstate 10, which gets signed west for Pensacola. It's alright. I prefer to see maybe Mobile and Pensacola. But Pensacola is still a pretty big beach city. But that East Lake City, no, please just remove it and just put Jacksonville on there. Lake City is like a tiny crumb compared to Jacksonville. Here we are in US Highway 90 in Tallahassee, and it is called Tennessee Street. Here is where US 27 takes a turn in front of the Florida State Capitol building. On the outskirts of Tallahassee, we're meeting a child of US 19, US 319 here. And then we're now actually meeting US Highway 19, and it's being signed north for Monticello, which is a good choice. And then here we can see some weird looking shields for both 19 and 27. And then here again, our first three-liner, we get Lamont on the top line, Perry is our secondary, and St. Petersburg from 226 miles away. Wow, Florida, that is one awesome mileage sign. Here in Perry, we're splitting off from US Highway 19, but US 98 is going to be joining with US 19 here. And on the outskirts of Perry, we get another mileage sign. We get Mayo on the top line and High Springs on the bottom line at 68 miles away. Here we are meeting with US Highway 129, and 129 is going to be concurrent with us. Here's where US 129 splits off from us, and it's signed for Bell. And further review, Bell is not a good choice for 129 South. How about where it meets US 19 and 98? Which we'll be discussing more when it gets in US 19 here in a couple weeks. And the next mileage sign, we get High Springs still on our bottom line at only 19 miles away. How about you can send something further now instead of just High Springs? Here in High Springs, we're going to be current with US Highway 41 for a short time. Here in Williston, US Highway 27 splits off from US 41, as we're now signing for Ocala. Here on the outskirts of Ocala, we're meeting with Interstate 75 for the first time and certainly not for the last. And it also gets signed for Lake City. What's the deal with Florida and signing Lake City? It's ridiculously small. I wouldn't mind Valdosta being on here. Not Lake City. Or even Gainesville. Anything but Lake City. But that Tampa for southbound 75 is awesome. Well, this is where I'm gonna get FDOT and F for signing stuff. Silver Springs is an unincorporated community, not on US Highway 27. It's on one of the Florida state routes in the Ocala area, so why in the world is it being signed on US Highway 27? There should be Ocala here, or Ocala and Leesburg. Here in Ocala, we're meeting with US Highway 301 and 441. And 27 is going to be concurrent with these as we head towards Leesburg. Here is where US 301 splits off from us, and we're now concurrent with US 441. Here in Leesburg, we're splitting off from US Highway 441 as it gets signed south for Orlando, and 27 south gets signed for Clermont. Here we are meeting the Florida's Turnpike in the middle of nowhere, Florida. Here in Clermont, we get a directional sign for 27 South, and we're getting signed for Haines City, which is an alright choice. But our next mileage sign, we get no mention of Haines City, but we get a mention of Miami from 243 miles away. Wow, I thought this is where I give you an A+ for signing stuff. Woohoo! Here's where we meet US Highway 192, which takes you over to Disney World in Kissimmee. And then here we meet Interstate 4, which gets signed east for Orlando, and west for Tampa, which are great choices. And then here in Haines City, we're meeting with US Highway 17 and US 92 as they're signed for Lake Alfred. And if you want more information on US Highway 17, I recommend checking out my 17 stuff in the top right corner here. Oh man, what happened to Miami? We get Dundee on the top line, Lake Wales at 17 miles away, and Sebring at 52. US 98 once again, and 98 South is even current with us, but the county route here is heading towards frostproof? I'm pretty sure the entire state of Florida is already frostproof because of how south it is. But 98 North is signed for Fort Meade. Well, guess what? Someone who recently just made the 17 series video accidentally pronounced this as Fort Maud. Well, let me tell you something, that person. It's pronounced Fort Meade. Here's where US 98 splits off from us, and US 27 is now continuing south towards Miami. Well, hello there, Miami. Welcome back. And are you going to throw us another interception, please? And then a ways down the road, Miami disappears once again because apparently I have decided to take them out of the mileage sign because they threw another interception. And we're now signed for Clewiston from 52 miles away. Oh, but once we get closer to that Clewiston, Miami comes back and we're now signed it from 99 miles away. And then a ways down the road, we're needing Interstate 75 and it gets signed for Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and Naples. And then once we enter into the Miami suburbs, we're meeting with the Florida Turnpike once again. And sadly, it has no control cities this time. And then ways down the road, we're meeting Florida Highway 9. And this is the road that takes you over to Hard Rock Stadium, where Miami University usually plays their home games. And then here you are meeting US Highway 441 once again, and this time they have the correct shields going on southbound 27. Why couldn't they do the same for northbound 27? And then ways down the road, we now get our end US 27 south shield in front of US Highway 1. So with that, we end US Highway 27 and move on to the way it should be. So these are what I think it should be on 27. For northbound and southbound. For northbound, I do South Bay, then Sebring, Main City, Claremont, Leesburg, Ocala, Williston, High Springs, Perry, Tallahassee, Brainbridge, Blakely, Columbus, LaGrange, Carrollton, Bremen, Cedartown, Rome, Lafayette, Chattanooga, Soddy Daisy, Dayton, Harriman, Wartburg, Oneida, Somerset, Sanford, Nicholasville, Lexington, Paris, Cynthiana, Alexandria, Cincy, Oxford, Richmond, Portland, Decatur, and finally Fort Wayne. And for the extended portion, Lansing, Mount Pleasant, then the Mackinac Bridge. And then for southbound 27, it's just everything in reverse except ending with Miami. So thank you guys for watching US Highway 27. Thank you all so much for watching this entire series on US Highway 27. I hope you got to learn a little bit more about the highway, and I hope you also enjoyed all the scenery stuff on this highway. So with that, here are my next few highways. If you have any upcoming requests for any of these videos, please let me know ASAP so I can shout you out when these videos release. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see y'all next week as we do US 23.